Welcome back to another video. I hope you're all keeping safe and well. So Tottenham Hotspur have just played their first game in the Europa Conference League, losing 1-0 to Portuguese side Paços de Ferreira. I've got Craig and Josh with me to try and dissect this game. Where did it all go wrong? Craig, let's start with you. How did you see tonight's game?
Wasn't very good, was it? A bit of a come down from Sunday's result. Very underwhelmed, to be honest with you. It's difficult. It's a difficult one for me because I thought, you know, it's not the competition we all want to be in, but there's a side of me that says you're in the competition anyway, so you should at least try and win. And it was like, I'd rather have seen him take all the under-23s out there rather than a mishmash of first-team players and a lot of second string. It just had no cohesion to it. The whole game was pretty boring, to be honest. It wasn't a very good watch, was it? So, yeah, very disappointed, to be honest, because winning breeds winning, and you know, regardless of that being our second string, I just think you know, you got to keep that momentum up, haven't you? And it just wasn't very good evening all round, was it really?
Josh, welcome back to the channel. It's been a while since you've been on. What did you make of tonight's game?
Yeah, nice to be back on, Chris. Yeah, it's a bit of a disappointing one. I totally agree with what Craig said. The total opposite of the high of the weekend and beating Man City. Obviously, it was the second string 11, as Craig said, a bit like our B team. The new boys were in there. We're expecting some kind of performance, but we didn't even get a shot on target. Which is disappointing. I mean, 3 shots, not much creativity, not much attacking football. It was a strange game, and I couldn't really describe it better than Craig. It was actually quite boring, and I feel for you, Chris. You've gone all the way out there to Portugal just to watch that. It's not very good from Spurs. It's a bit of a disappointment tonight.
Craig, let's come back to you. Does it make it more disappointing tonight, the fact that we beat Manchester City? I know it's a completely different team, which we'll get into in a minute. But it's so Tottenham, isn't it, that sometimes we're feeling up here and then so quickly it then goes, you know, it just drops. The mood drops so quickly. You know, you beat the champions in Manchester City on Sunday, a fantastic team performance, some fantastic individual performances, and then to go in the Europa Conference League. And I know in my preview video, lots of Tottenham fans expected this to be a walkover. Even in the preview video, I went for a 1-1 draw. I knew this would be a difficult game, but I didn't think we'd lose it.
Yeah, it's totally Tottenham, isn't it? It's totally what we kind of expect now, almost, you know, to go from a brilliant result like that on Sunday to that what we see tonight. And I'll be honest, I expected us to win still. I think, I don't know if I'm being arrogant in saying if we'd put out our first team, we would have rolled them over. Just seems like the players didn't really seem that bothered about it. They were, you know, there was some players in there, let's face it, are not good enough to play for Spurs, and I mean no disrespect for that. It's just the way it is. I'm sure we'll get into it with the players that had some shockers out there tonight. But you're right, it is totally Tottenham, getting you to, you know, you're up here like you say, and then you suddenly walk back down to earth and you're losing to a team that finished mid-table almost in the Portuguese league. So that's going to be a massive result for them. That's going to be a massive result for them, you know, and they're not going to forget that in a hurry. And I must say that I briefly watched your video just before we come on tonight, and it seemed like that music in the stadium was incredibly loud. It must have been like being in a disco or something like that, or a nightclub. So, yeah, that was probably the best part of it.
For the home fans, Craig, I've got to say that you know, the home fans were absolutely superb. They didn't stop singing all night long. They finished 5th in the Portuguese league last season out of 18 teams, but that was hell of a result for them tonight. They were they're absolutely delighted with that result, and they put a shift in. And I think that, you know, me being honest as a Spurs fan, they deserve that victory tonight.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely fully deserved it. Beat us all over the park, didn't they? What can you say?
Now, Josh, let's come to you. Let's go through the starting 11. Of course, we all knew yesterday, Nuno Espirito Santo's squad. We all knew that it was you know, full of inexperienced players. We knew that some players would be getting their debuts. The starting 11 was Golini in goal, and then the back four: Doherty, Romero, Carter-Vickers, and Davis. and then you've got Ryan Sessegnon, Harry Winks, Giovanni Lo Celso, John, Brian Hill, and Dane Scarlett. What did you make of that starting 11 when you saw that?
When I saw it, I thought, oh, this is actually quite a nice mix. Obviously, you've got the new lads coming in Galini in goal, Romero at the back, obviously Hill making his debut as well for the club. I thought, oh, we've got a bit of a match with some more experienced players like Lo Celso in there and even Harry Winks. But then as soon as the game started, there was no flow to the game. It did seem like obviously these lads have never really played together. Everything was very disjointed. Our passing was shambolic throughout the whole game. We couldn't seem to string 3 passes together. It was a bit of a strange watch, and it was a bit of a disappointing debut for some of the boys. I thought Hill's touch was a bit odd, and Romero got done on several occasions at the back, which I was a bit worried about. Obviously, we've paid quite a lot, or we've got him on loan, haven't we? But we're going to pay a lot of money for him. So hopefully he can be a good defender for us. But I think we've got to look at it from the perspective of this was a huge game for this Portuguese club. And obviously there's 2 legs. We've got to take it back at home and go turn them over at home. And if you look back to last season, we did really struggle in the Europa League qualifiers when we were playing the teams like Plovdiv and Shikenja. Yeah. We really struggled, and we had to put on Harry Kane and we had to put on Son. And I think not only did we struggle, it's also you've got to look at the other side and you've got to look at the other team and think this is playing Spurs for a small team. This is literally their biggest game of their history in some cases. And yeah, it did mean a lot for them today, clearly, and they deserve to win. But yeah, we've got to take it back home and get the win and get into this group stage.
Craig, should we be worried about this result? Because of course we play them again at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium next Thursday. Is this a competition Nuno Espirito Santo and Tottenham Hotspur Football Club will take seriously, in your opinion? And when I say that, I mean go out to win, with a very, very strong team. I've no doubt at all that Nuno Espirito Santo thought that starting 11 tonight would win the game. But does he need to take it a little bit more seriously? You as a fan, would you like to see Nuno and the club take this competition seriously and perhaps go on, to go and win it?
I think they need to make sure we go through. To be honest with you, because regardless of what anybody thinks, I've seen people say that they'd rather us be out of it.
Yeah,
completely. Yeah. And I don't quite get that. If I'm honest, I get that it's the 3rd tier European competition. It's not the one we all want to be in. We all know that, but we're in it. It's a trophy, so we might as well try and at least turn up and win it. In my opinion, I think he's going to have to put out a slightly stronger team at home next week. If he puts out the same team, we're at home, so you think we get over the line, but they've only got a nick and away goal. I'm not sure how the away goals work in this competition, but if it works out, they always have, then they've shown they can nick a goal, and that ball that was put through split us in half, didn't it? Yeah. Really. And like what Josh said there about Romero, I'm sure he's got plenty more games to come. There's no need to be concerned yet, but he didn't have the best full sort of debut in my opinion, but that will come, and you got to look at the players he had around him. He's not going to be playing with them every week, so no need to be. I've seen people saying, "Oh, what a waste of money," sort of thing. We're never gonna buy him. What have we done, sort of thing. I think it's a bit early to judge. So let's judge him by Christmas and see how new league, new teammates, everything, and all that. But yeah, I think the club have got to take it a bit more seriously. As I say, it's not the competition we want to be in, but let's get through to the group stage at least, and then we've got a few more games guaranteed there, and see where we go, and then hopefully we'll qualify for the next round, and by that stage the players are going to be fitter, and you're going to see more first team players get put in. But the players that were there tonight, you'd think, would be wanting to stake a claim in the first team. They should be saying to Nuno, look, this is what I can do. The likes of Doherty, Winks, even Lo Celso, saying, I've got a right to be in that team. Look what I can do. And none of them grabbed that game by the scruff of the neck and showed why they should be in that first team against Wolves, for example, you know. But yeah, it's just disappointing evening all round, really. And would we have got a better result had we taken more first team players out there and took it a bit more seriously? Yeah, probably. It's a bit of a kick up the backside and a bolt down to earth, I think, tonight.
Josh, I think Craig's absolutely right there, and I've got the same opinion where these players should be taking their opportunities. You know, when you're getting in the starting 11 in a game like this, you've got to be knocking on that door and saying, Nuno, I want to be playing, you know, against Wolves. I want to be playing in the Premier League side. You know, every single one of those starting 11, they all needed game time tonight. They've all been given the opportunity. Were you impressed by any performances individually tonight?
Not particularly, which is it is a bit concerning. Obviously, it's the second game of the season. Let's not get too carried away. I'm sure some Spurs fans out there don't want us to get carried away. But yeah, players like Harry Winks, even Lo Celso, I was just so disappointed with them making the same old mistakes. It's like the worst thing in football is when players don't learn from their mistakes and try and move on. We're playing opponents today. They're not Bayern Munich. They're not Manchester City. Players like Harry Winks and Lo Celso should be bossing that midfield. I mean, they're international football players. Obviously, Harry Winks doesn't play for England anymore, but he used to be an ex-international. And they need to be bossing these types of games in the third tier of European football. So it is a bit concerning from players like that. I'd say the only player who actually did all right was Galini in goal. I don't think you can blame him for the goal. We got totally split open, as Craig said. Romero wasn't goal side, and the ball went in, and it was a good finish from the striker. But I thought he had a decent game. I thought he's quite solid. I think he commands his box quite well. I've been quite impressed with the games that he's played so far. I think that's a good acquisition that we've got there from Atalanta. But yeah, no one else. I obviously I don't want to criticise someone like Dane Scarlett. He was given no service whatsoever up front. I mean, he's a talented boy. We all know what Jose Mourinho said about him, saying that he's going to be the next big thing for our football club, and I believe him. I think he's got a lot of talent, a lot of raw, natural talent, that boy. And I wish him the best, but we do need to get the ball to him. I mean, we didn't have a single shot on target today, as we said, and that isn't because Dane Scarlett had a bad game. That's because we lacked total creativity. We didn't have a centre attacking midfielder in there today who was actually playing any balls through to a striker.
Yeah. Do you know what, Josh? Listening to you tonight so far on this video, it's like listening to you last season.
Yeah, I know. Oh no.
Under Jose Mourinho.
Yeah.
Craig, what positives do you take from tonight?
I thought the weather looked nice on the game, Chris. I tell you, it looked fantastic. I love Portugal, yeah, I love Portugal. So any pictures of Portugal always makes me smile. But positives, God, I kind of agree with Josh. I think Galini looked pretty good. You can't blame him for the goal at all. Dane Scarlett getting a few more minutes, first team football. Again, I don't blame him at all. I totally agree. You know, I used to play striker when I played football, obviously at a completely different level, but the game's the same. And if you're not getting the service, it can be incredibly frustrating. And you can only do so much. You know, you go looking for the ball and you get told to get back in your position, but you're not getting the service, so you can't put the ball in the back of the net. So, God, positives. There's very few, Chris. If I'm honest, I can't really think of many. I'm not that disappointed, should I say? You know, because it's early in the season. It's basically only half time, and I'm confident we can turn it around in the second leg. But it wasn't the best. It really wasn't the best. And as I said before, it's a kick up. It's got to be a kick up the backside, saying, you know, we took it too lightly. Just took it too lightly. That's all I can say on it, really. Yeah, I'll tell you what. I've noticed how low, perhaps, that even my mates see this competition. I've had no text messages taking the mickey about tonight's game. Not one where I'd usually get a lot. And that kind of says it all, really, about the competition. But as I say, we're in it, so let's try and win it.
Josh, let's come to you. Lapper's 82 right on screen now. Chris, I think tonight showed exactly why most of those players should be nowhere near the first team. Are there any of these players in that starting 11 tonight who you would put in the starting 11 in a Premier League game like Wolves on Sunday?
No. Answer straight up. None of them should be anywhere near those players that played against Man City at the weekend, because I thought they were absolutely outstanding, all of them. Even Dyer and Sanchez at the back, they were unbelievable. And the players that played tonight, they really didn't impress me at all. So yeah, I don't want them touching any of these first team players at the moment. Obviously, there's some bright sparks in the team that played tonight. I'm seeing some people in the comments section saying about how Brian Hill. I think it's Brian Hill, isn't it? Even though it's spelt with a G.
Hill, yeah.
He had some moments. He's a young player, 20 years old. He's got a nice change of pace. He's got some skill on him. You can see there's a bit of raw talent in there, but he's got to work on his first touch. That's the thing that really stood out to me. His touch. He was giving it away a lot. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing a bit more from him. Obviously, we've got rid of Lamella and brought him in. I'm sure he's a talented football player, but I can't see him replacing a player like Lucas or even Bergwijn, the way that he played against Manchester City. I mean, the things that I'm reading in the papers saying that Dele Alli and Steven Bergwijn are some of the hardest working players under Nuno in training. These players that played tonight aren't going to get in front of those two and others in the first team if they're going to turn up and play like that against Paços, are they? It's just not going to happen. And at the end of the day, all the talking gets done on the pitch. It's how you play, and how they played tonight was poorly.
Well, Josh, David from the Irish Hotspur, and David, I hope you're well. Thanks for watching. He writes, Brian Hill reminds me of David Ginola.
Yeah, he looks like a skillful player. I mean, he's 20 years old. He's got a lot of skill in it and talent in his locker. And yeah, I am excited. He's obviously seen as a great prospect in Spain. I mean, they really didn't. The Sevilla fans were really not happy letting go of him. And obviously, he's playing for the Spanish youth under-23 national team, and he plays for I think he played in the Olympics for Spain as well. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do for us. But yeah, I thought he played positively. What do you think though, Chris? Who stood out to you? Obviously, you're there. Who else stood out today?
I thought Brian Hill was pretty lively. I thought Ryan Sessegnon did okay. You know, bearing in mind that he's just come back. He played at the under-23s, which I was there on Monday night. A lot of under-23 players were involved. I was quite excited about seeing Janiel Bennett come on, but he didn't get enough minutes. And as you said, Dane Scarlett just didn't get the service, because I tell you what, 17-year-old kid, he's going to be a very, very decent player. I've seen him keep banging the goals in for the under-18s, but I'm just a little bit disappointed with some of the performances tonight, because like I've said many, many times on this channel and including on this video earlier, that when you've got your opportunity, you need to grab it. You know, if any one of us had an opportunity of deputising for someone in a job, you know, you'd want to prove yourself.
Exactly.
You know, fully. You'd want to go in there and say, I'm going to make sure that I do this job fantastically well, so they're going to want me to do it again. And I just don't understand in some of these, you know, Europa League last year when we played in the Europa League, you know, so many players just didn't take opportunities, and that's what I find really frustrating. I was such on a high from Sunday, from the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, that crowd, you know, getting back in the stadium full capacity, you know, all the fans singing, and then coming out here to watch this game. I didn't think that we would lose this game. As I say, I wouldn't have been at all surprised if it was a draw. I predicted a 1-1 draw, but I didn't expect to lose this game. So it's just disappointing. Craig, let's come to you. What does Nuno Espirito Santo do now? Does he completely change the team next week?
Well, for the return leg, no, I don't think he does. I think he'll still go with certain players that played tonight. I wouldn't be surprised to see Harry Winks play again. Brian Hill, I forgot him actually. He did have a few good runs there, and his touches, and I think he's got a bright future ahead of him. And Sessegnon, second half, he did actually look. There was some attacking intent there. I just like to see. When we signed Sessegnon, I was quite excited to get him because I've seen what he did at Fulham. I thought this is, he's going to be England's left side for the next 10 years. And he just hasn't quite done it yet. And he's had the injuries and he had a difficult season at Hoffenheim, of course. But he's one of the players that should have been banging on Nuno's door, so to speak, and saying, look, this is me, this is what I can do. Because, him and Reguilon, if they get up to speed on that left-hand side, for me, if they play like we know they can play, that's a pretty formidable left-hand side. And if you throw Sonny into that as well, Christ, that's good enough when they're playing that we know, like I say, at their full capacity, if you like. That's a pretty scary left-hand side there. It's difficult to say. Like I say, I think he does need to make some changes next week, bring in a few more first teamers, just to make sure we win that game, because we can't lose. We can't go out of this competition, Chris. So he's going to have to make sure. Don't be surprised to see at least some first team players on the bench, just in case we need them, like what happened last year, of course. Very disappointed, and Ndombele's not had anything yet. We might get into that a bit later, but that's a weird one for me. Why the hell hasn't he had any minutes at all? Lo Celso, just been away for the Copa America, winning it. Still a bit underwhelmed with him as well, to be honest. Just something, I don't think there's major problems with the team. I don't think, again, we need to get carried away, but the first team was brilliant Sunday. We know that, and that's something to fall back on and think, well, okay, this isn't our first team. They were in second gear most of the night tonight, but it's still disappointing. Still disappointing.
Josh, what changes do you think Nuno will make next week for the second leg?
I think if you think about it, I think I agree with what Craig says. I think they'll go with the same team, but there'll be more first team players on the bench. We can't afford to go out of this competition because that would just be embarrassing. I mean, we get bantered a lot, but that would just be, I think that'd be on another level. I mean, you can't go out before even getting in the group stage of the third tier of European competition. That's not good enough for our football club at all. But yeah, I don't know who could come in, to be honest. I mean, I don't really want to. We've got a lot of games coming up. I was looking at the fixture list. We've got Watford after this game on Thursday. We've got Wolves away this weekend. We've got a lot of fixtures. We can't be playing Sonny 3-4 times in a week. I mean, that's you can't make a player do that. That's what Jose was doing, and you just shatter your own players. So yeah, maybe bring in maybe a Dele Alli, try and get a bit more creativity in there. I'm sure, as Craig said, we want to see Ndombele for him, but it looks like his time at the club is coming to an end. I'm sure we'll come to it, as Craig said, but I don't think he's going to be at the club for much longer from what I've been reading. And that would be such a disappointment, a real big disappointment with the amount of money that we invested in him and the amount of talent that he's got. And he's a different type of player. He's not a standard player, is he? He's got such talent, Ndombele, and it'll be such a shame to see him go, because I'm sure he'll absolutely smash it somewhere else. So yeah, I'd love to see him in there, but he's obviously clearly not fit.
Melvin, welcome to the channel tonight. What are your thoughts on tonight's match?
I don't know. It just looked like the type of game that I go to, a five-a-side with my mates who haven't played with in 2 years. You know what I mean? It's like I look to my left and I don't know what the guy next to me is called. It's like that sort of thing. It just the chemistry wasn't there. The chemistry wasn't there, the patterns of play and the passing wasn't quite fast enough, and you could see the inexperience in some of the players. But I guess Nuno was focusing on Wolves in a way because he didn't take anyone with him, not even on the bench. Because I was thinking, if we concede, we don't even have anyone to bring on. Usually Jose used to take some of the big boys with him, Hugo and Harry and Sonny, but no one was there, not even Dele, and even the guys who are not even in his plans, they weren't even there. So I think you were talking about Ndombele before.
That's a good point, Melvin, because Pochettino and Mourinho both did that. Although they put out weakened teams, they always took the big guns on the bench. Why do you think Nuno Espirito Santo done that tonight?
Because Champions League qualification is the most important thing this season. So 3 points at Wolves will be massive, and I'm more nervous for Wolves than I was versus Manchester City, because for some reason I felt more confident against City than I do against Wolves, because somehow the way we play, we set up perfectly to play City, on the counter attack, defend, low block, medium block, whatever. Against Wolves, we have to create, we have to open them up, we have to have decent possession, we need to hold the ball up forward, and I'm more nervous to play Wolves than to play teams like Manchester City. So I think Nuno, he's resting everyone, and same with Wolves. I think Wolves didn't play this week, did they?
Melvin, I just want to get your thoughts on the competition itself. Do you think Tottenham will take this competition seriously in the future if we can get past this tie?
I don't know. I think during the group stage, there's enough matches where we can have a mixture of youth players and some experienced players, and we'll probably have enough talent, and playing home and away, we'll get through probably we'll get through the group stage and into the last 16 or last 32. I don't know how this competition really works, but the biggest team in the competition right now is Roma, and some teams drop through the Europa League. So if we keep Harry Kane and we should be able to win this competition on paper, but we've said that about the Europa League. So it's a strange thing, because if we win it, probably people will spin it around. They'll spin the story. They'll say, "Oh, it doesn't mean anything," But if West Ham went along and won it, and they would twist the story and say, "Oh, look, West Ham won a trophy before Spurs." So, it's a strange world we live in, because if West Ham win the trophy, they'll say, "Oh, look, they won it. They won a trophy before you." But if we win it, they'll say, "Oh, it doesn't mean anything." So you just have to win what's in front of you, and we have to go for it. I think, if we play the youth and we get to the quarterfinal and semi-final, then you might start to think, "Oh, maybe we should take this more seriously." But I think top 4 is priority, and I think we can see why this transfer window, why it's so important to get into the Champions League, because we're missing out on key signings that could take us to another level, that are, they're not really coming to us because we're not in the Champions League.
We will get onto the transfers, Melvin. Craig, let's come to you. Daniel Phillips writes on the screen, top 4 or even 3 matters more than the UEFA Europa Conference League. Now, it was funny, when I was in the stadium tonight, I suddenly thought, like 2 years ago, that whole lead up to the Champions League final, and then of course last year, Europa League, and then this year Europa Conference League, how we have fallen in these few years. I remember meeting Melvin out at the new camp at Barcelona when we drew 1-1, and going to the likes of Real Madrid as well, and some of the grounds that I've visited over recent years in Champions League football. And then, of course, going, no disrespect to Paços tonight, but going to their stadium of capacity of 9,000, it's not where we want to be, is it?
No, it isn't. And, that's dead right what he said there. the top four has got to be on the radar for Nuno this year. We've got to get back in those Champions League spots to get the club back to where we were. I mean, can you imagine 2-3 years ago if we'd said, well, you know, we've got to finish top 6, we've got to get back into that Europa League. I mean, Christ, you said, what? Hang on, we're a constant Champions League team. What are you banging on about? It does show how we've fallen, and it comes down to the squad aging, players, you know, just not playing at the level that they were, whether that be age or whatever. Just the squad getting stale, which Pochettino mentioned, you know, towards the end of his tenure. You know, the painful rebuild he was talking about. He knew long before perhaps any of us ever spotted it, that you've got to refresh the squad to keep up the levels, and we didn't do it. We went 518 days, as you've said many times, Chris, without refreshing that squad, and we're paying the price for it now, and not replacing the players that left during that time. Kyle Walker, Eriksen, you know. When you look at those players, if we'd had an Eriksen out there tonight, we would have at least created some chances. And you know, who did we have in the middle of the park? With all respect to the players that were there, we did nobody creative, and Lo Celso just doesn't do it for me. I'm still not sure what type of player he is. He's a bit like Winks, in my opinion, but better than Winks. But I still don't know what he is. If I was manager, where would I play him? I'm thinking, well, would I play him on the left, on the right, cutting in? Would I play him higher up the pitch? Would I play him sort of where Hojbjerg plays? I honestly don't know. I'm still waiting to see something from him, Lo Celso. And we kind of bought him as a sort of Eriksen replacement. I know he wasn't like for like, I get that. But we paid a lot of money for this guy. And for me, he hasn't really paid us back yet, you know, and he's been here long enough. He's been here long enough to take games by the scruff of the neck. And again, he didn't do it tonight.
You know, there's been a few comments in the stream stating that we're nowhere near top 4, and that is my problem. We need to be in that top 4 spot, because, you know, from going from Champions League football to Europa League and now going to Europa Conference League, that's what really bothers me as a Tottenham Hotspur fan right now. Josh, let's come back to you. Tom writes on screen now, we're 16th in the league for summer spending. Do you expect Tottenham to be spending any more money in the next, 11 days or so?
Well, I hope so. There's still a lot of positions that we need to fill. Obviously, we need a backup striker. We cannot be relying off Dane Scarlett to be our second striker for the season. We haven't even got a number 9 in the squad. I mean, we must be the only team in the Premier League who hasn't got a number 9 this season. Also,
Man City.
Oh no! Oh, let's not get started about that. Yeah, we probably need a right back. I think we're dying for a creative midfielder, and obviously we all said last year, but someone like Hojbjerg we need a central midfielder, like a defensive midfielder, to come in and share the load with Hojbjerg, because he's going to end up playing every single game like last year. And I don't know. It's a bit of a weird one with our recruitment. And Colin in the comments, actually, if I just scroll up, Colin in the comments said something very profound, and I totally agree with him. He said the current problem goes back a few seasons when no one came in or left. I think you said it as well. When no one came in for 500 days, and now that's really caused us a huge problem. I mean, we're struggling now because we've got this aging squad. We've lost some serious key players. We've no longer got Toby Alderweireld or Jan Vertonghen. We haven't got Eriksen. We might lose Harry Kane. I mean, you can see why we've fallen from grace. All these great players that used to turn up on the big stage against teams like Bayern Munich or I don't know, or Inter Milan or Borussia Dortmund. I remember going to these Champions League games and having the time of life watching Spurs, and look where we are now. And
Josh, Josh, didn't it? Just listening to you there, it sounds like I'm talking because you're saying exactly what I've said. It's the same players we talk about on these chats that we've lost again and again and again. And it just goes to show we have never replaced these players because other teams, when they lose players, they'll get better players in, or at least at the same level, and they will probably won't even talk about those other players. But how many times do we sit here and talk about Walker, Alderweireld, Vertonghen, Rose when he was good, Ericsson? You know, the list is endless, and it's embarrassing. We shouldn't be talking about that. We should, you know, do you know what I mean? We can see it as fans. We know what the problem is. Why can't the club? And we've done some good business so far, I think. And I'm half pleased with what we've done, but we need to candidly spend a lot more money on players, and where that money's coming from, we'll see over the next 2 weeks. And whether Kane goes or not, we definitely need one striker to come in. Definitely.
I'll tell you what, can I just make one more point as well? What shocks me is we used to be able to compete with teams like Chelsea. And you look at Chelsea and they've just bought Lukaku for £100 million, even though they bought Werner for £50 million last season to replace Morata. And we're stuck with Harry Kane with no replacement and no second striker. How are we supposed to compete with a top 4 team like Chelsea who've just won the Champions League? That's where we want to be as a football club. We want to be back in the top 4, but we're not even prepared to make the signings. So if we want to be back there, we need to invest. And I don't understand why our owners can't see that. But yeah, let's move on, because otherwise we'll go down the wormhole.
Well, you know what you say there. Sorry, just to jump in, Chris. I'll see on Sky Sports today, Michael Bridge said, and I can't remember the exact figure, I think it was in the 40s. If you lose Kane, we've lost Bale, we've lost Vinicius. Not that Vinicius was brilliant, but we've lost 47 goals and assists. Yeah. If them 3 go. 47, I think that's what he said. And that that's worrying. That is worrying if that happens. You know the fact I'm still gutted we didn't actually go try and do some form of deal to bring Bale back for another year. Yeah. I know some people will disagree with me on that, but I think we're only paying his wages, and let's face it, he's better than a lot of he's better than every single player that was on that pitch tonight. You know, if he was out there,
and the fans love him.
Yeah, and he would have paid for his own wages. That's the crazy thing, because of the shirt sales, like Messi has done in PSG. Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get why we didn't just bring him back for another season. Because he paid for himself. Crazy.
There's a super chat here from Vandal, so thank you very much for that. I'm actually sat in the bar in the hotel that I'm staying in at the moment, because last night I was telling Josh and Craig off air. Last night I was doing my match preview, and then I had people banging on the walls as if to say, "Shut up, we want to go to sleep." So I had to do the match preview this morning when everyone had woken up. So I'm now in the bar. I'm not waking anyone up tonight. Melvin, let's come to you. What do you expect Tottenham Hotspur to do in the transfer window in the next 11 days?
Hopefully move on 1 or 2 players. I think it's important. I think Harry Winks needs to move on. I think it's clear that, he's lost the plot a bit. He's not the same Harry Winks he was. I think he just needs to move on. Like, we moved on players like Tom Carroll. He's that sort of level. Ryan Mason, when we moved him on, he's that level of player. I think the system he played under Pochettino, he was playing next to Moussa Dembele, and I think if I played next to Moussa Dembele, he probably would have made me look good as well. Yeah. So he's just not doing it anymore. Sissoko needs to go as well, and they need to free up, the wages. And if we can get anything out of these players, we need to use them for transfers. And knowing, Fabio Paratici right now, the way he's operating, there's probably deals that are very, very close to being done. And there's probably ones we have no idea about that he's probably started negotiating. And it's probably going to be a crazy end to the window if we're going to sell Harry Kane, which I don't see us doing because we don't have replacement. And the guy we wanted seems to be either going to Manchester City or signing a new contract with Fiorentina. And the Lautaro Martinez deal didn't happen. And I don't know, we definitely, you could see that we need a couple of more players to come in if if we spend the money, it's probably to improve our starting 11, which is probably what we need to finish in the top 4. We need, you know, someone to come in and, you know, get us the goals that Vinicius and Bale scored last season, because I think Son and Kane isn't enough, and it looks like Ndombele is not going to be the player we all wanted him to be, and we all expected him to be. And I was thinking today that Ndombele reminds me a lot of, you know, Adel Tarabt when we had him. You know, so much potential and so much quality, and he does moments of magic, and it's such a shame because it is what it is. But I wanted Ndombele to do what Dele Alli did this season. So it is possible, you know. Dele Alli started training early and got it in, and he's looking like he's going to have a very good season if he in his new role, because he's not playing the position he played under Poch. I don't know what signings, you know. I'll leave it to the club what we need, but it looks like we definitely need something more and something more exciting to finish in the top 4. Otherwise, we might come up short again if we spend the money now, which, you know, we might make through the club, you know, because now they're starting to do events and concerts and things like that. So the revenue will come in, which we probably really need right now. You know, I think it was smart the way they did the Romero deal. It's a loan with an obligation to buy, which kind of frees up the 50 million to use for further transfers. You know, it was quite clever. If we can do, you know, a couple more like that, I think any player from, you know, some top teams in Europe will improve us. Any player, you know, if it's or any player that Paratici finds and brings to the club. I think right now with the ones we have, any player, even if he's average or above average, will improve us right now. I think we're at the state that there's no depth in this squad, and you cannot rely on anyone. And I think we need to move on the ones that are on the bench and bring fresh one in.
Well, Malcolm, you mentioned Fabio Paratici there. Craig and I actually met him outside Milton Keynes a couple of weeks back. Craig, he is constantly on the phone. He is constantly pacing up and down the pitches of every away ground that I've gone to so far. Chelsea, a Chelsea member of staff actually told him to get off the pitch. It was quite funny. But do you expect him to do more business in the next 11 days? Because in my opinion, we still do need more defensive reinforcements, because when you take tonight, and I don't want to get on Cameron Carter-Vickers' back, I believe that he is in the shop window. But when you've got a player like that who is so out of his depth in a game like this in third-rate European football, I don't think he's going to quite cut it at Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. So do you think that some more players are heading out the door in the next 11 days? Because are we running out of time? You know, there's so much to do. I'm well aware that a rebuild, you know, what we need. And as you mentioned earlier, not spending a penny in 518 days. And, you know, this situation's gone on and on. And I know that the rebuild is not going to be done in one transfer window, but to have any chance of getting any decent European football for next season, i.e. the Champions League, there is a lot to do still, isn't there?
There is, and it is funny seeing Paratici on his phone, because there's always a picture next to him of Steve Hitchin on his phone. And I always laugh, because I think Hitchin's probably actually not talking to anybody. He's just got it to his ear like that to make him look like he's doing it. But you know, in all seriousness,
if you watch my fan cam, you actually see Steve Hitchin come out for the second half. He pulls his phone out, looks at it. Have I got any texts? No, and then puts it back.
Phones up Uber Eats.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny to see that. But in all seriousness, Paratici, as I've said before, and I think we've all read and heard, he's good at bringing players in. He's not so good at moving them on. And, you know, it's getting late now. There's 2 weeks left, I think, in the transfer window, probably less than that. If players are going to go out the door, they need to start going out now. When we spent the Bale money, from what I remember, Kirikis was one of the last ones to come in almost on transfer deadline day. In fact, I think it was. But we'd spent on Soldado, Paulinho, Ericsson, and all that before that, hadn't we? And we bought into the 7 players. We haven't. There's been no signs of spending the Kane money, if you like, you know. And I totally get it. You're not gonna wait to get the Harry Kane money in and then buy players, because clubs know that you're desperate for a striker, so the price goes up. So you do your business beforehand, you bring in the strikers. Now, if we lose Kane, you've got to bring in 2 strikers, in my opinion, and a creative midfielder. There's no signs of that. You know, you read the rumours, something generally leaks out at players we're looking at, doesn't it, on Twitter or whatever. You see things, and there's no big names, and you'd think there would be a big name coming forward to replace Kane if we're going to sell him, and you're just not seeing anything. Very rare nowadays does a transfer go through where it's a shock, which is quite fun. Like, you know, in the old days, you would read it. You'd read it in the newspaper, wouldn't you, that Spurs had signed somebody? Nowadays, you can't keep anything secret. But Aston Villa did, of course, when they signed Ings, because that just came out of the blue. So it shows that these things go on in the background. But a club like Spurs, you think there's always going to be leaks. There's always going to be people saying they've seen somebody somewhere talking to somebody else. And there's just nothing. It's just gone very quiet. Now, I don't know how Paratici works, whether he goes mental in the last week of the transfer window. Have they given Steve Hitchin a pay-as-you-go mobile that's a burner phone that nobody's got the number of, that he's making loads of calls, and so it's taking the heat off Paratici? I don't know. Massive amount of work needs to be done in the next 2 weeks, in my opinion, to give us even a chance at shot at top 4. I know people are going to say we're miles away. We are at the moment, but I believe with the right recruitment, and this is what I was thinking at the beginning of June, at the beginning of the transfer window, with the right recruitment and the right players out the door, we've got a chance of getting back in the top 4. But time's ticking, and we're not getting the players in that we all know we need. We seem to have an obsession about buying wingers at the club, and yet we don't get in players where in the positions where we all know we need them. Bizarre that we had to buy a goalkeeper. Perhaps it's just because Galini came on the market. I'm actually pleased we got him. I think he's a good keeper. Yeah, but we need a right back, we need a centre back, we need a creative midfielder. When you look at the player, just look at the recruitment so far. Take Galini out of it, because essentially we think he's going to be a second string goalie. So he's just basically replaced Gazzaniga in essence. Yeah. So discount him for a second. Romero's brand new to the league. Whether he's going to be in the first team every week going forward, we don't know. On his first appearance tonight, he wasn't brilliant, but you know, you're going to let him off because it's his first game. And that leaves Brian Hill. Again, he's bedding in. He's not going to be starting every week. So where are we left with? We're left with basically the same team at the moment we had last season, with thought of losing Harry Kane. We've lost Gareth Bale. We've lost Vinicius. And then Ndombele has gone AWOL.
And we've lost Alderweireld.
And we've lost Alderweireld as well. So where are we? All right, we had a great performance Sunday, not getting carried away. Same players as last year, new manager. They looked a lot fitter. Fantastic. But where are we as a squad?
Can I ask you guys something? Because last season we beat Manchester City at home with the same players in a way. But incredible, yeah. In a way, if you replay last season's game 10 more times, if it could have been played again 10 more times, Manchester City would have probably beat us the other 9 times. But I didn't feel that this season when we played them. If we played them 10 more times, I think we would have easily beaten them 8 times out of 10. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they've got a shocking record. Have you seen their record at White Hart Lane in the past 6 years or something? The aggregate score is 12-1 to us. It's absolutely shocking.
They must be gutted. They must be gutted about it.
We are their bogey team. It's hilarious.
Melvin, I want to come back to you. Now, Jerome writes on screen now, it's not that we don't have the depth, but it's some of the players like Harry Winks and Ben Davies thinks that they are too good for this competition because they showed no intent in the game. Now, it seems to me, and I know I'm not defending them at all, but it just seems that whenever Tottenham lose a game or we don't play very well, players like Harry Winks and Ben Davies always get it in the neck.
Well,
is that fair?
Today, for example, Ben Davis was the captain. Ben Davis was our captain. So it wasn't a team of extremely high caliber. So today's result, it's disappointing. It's 1-0, but it's technically still half time. We put a couple of the big boys in, and we can easily overturn this result back at home. So today shouldn't really judge where we are as a team this season. It's still early days. Some players where it's their debut or even their second match playing for us. We're playing with 17, 18-year-olds. But squad depth, it's not really a Manchester City kind of bench, is it? So we definitely, I think, need 2-3 more players in if we can make I'd rather have 3 new players that are hungry and young and want to improve and want to show and have desire than keep the same players that we've had for 6 years, who've been here at the club for so long and haven't really done anything. I'd rather have someone young at 21, 22 who's promising, come into the club, who's energetic and ready to fight for his spot, sort of like what Jeffet Tanganga did. He was linked away. There wasn't really sure who was going to play right back this season. In pre-season, he was coming in and out. And, in that Arsenal match, he really showed Nuno, this is my position. I want to play here. And, with the City performance, I think no one would replace him right now. Probably the club was thinking about bringing in a new right back. And maybe, Paratici saw him and said, oh, maybe we don't need a right back. Maybe we can play him for the rest of the season, because it was that kind of performance. That's what we need. We need players to play and impress so much that it's like a solution. I love that sort of player, like Oliver Skip coming in, playing in all of a sudden. It's like in Ndombele, he replaced him. Obviously, it's not the same skill level or caliber of player. Ndombele excites me, but Oliver Skip excites me just as much, and he's an academy player. He'll play for the shirt, he'll protect the defense, and he had, for a 21-year-old, I think he is, to play against Manchester City and have such a good performance and grow into the match so much like he did. I think this season, it's the exact player that we need. He reminds me a lot of Højbjerg in a way, even though they're sort of different type of players. But he excites me a lot, and it's what we need. We need these type of players to come in and not only impress, but grab hold of their position, because I think we all know the best lineup that we can play this season. I think we all know it, but we need either the youth players to come in like Tanganga and impress, or we need the new signings to really grab hold of that position and create this, what we had under Poch, everyone fighting for the same position. Kyle Walker and Trippier were fighting for the position. Danny Rose, there was always games that you were going to play. So everyone sort of, they fought till the end. And I think under Nuno, it's what we need to create, a small squad, but everyone fighting for their position.
Josh, let's come to you. Richard writes a comment on screen now. Evening all, evening Richard. Do you all find it strange that Daniel Levy hasn't done a deal at the stadium sponsor yet? Revenue would cover outstanding bills and free up transfer funds to compete at the top. We all know that it's like a record amount that he's asking for, same as like the Harry Kane deal, really, isn't it? If a deal is going to be done, it's going to be, big money. Are you surprised, Josh?
Well, I mean, if he's asking for a lot of money and we're not in the Champions League, we're not performing as well as we should do, then are the big brands who are going to want to be sponsoring us, are they really going to come out and pay this money? Probably not. You look at other clubs and like Chelsea, for example. I hate talking about Chelsea, but like they've got a training shirt sponsor now. I mean, that's something we could do. Get a bit more investment in the team. I think it's Trivago or something. And I did see a little bit of talk about us getting a training shirt sponsor. But yeah, we really do need to get this sorted out. It's now been nearly like it's been over 2 years now, and we still haven't got a stadium sponsor, which is very strange. I think it's a bit of an elephant in the room. I think that we're the only we're not the only club in the Premier League without a stadium sponsor, but we should be having one with the investment that it would bring us. And as Rich has said, it would help us with bringing in new players because of the income that we get. So yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there. I'm sure Daniel Levy is sorting it out. He's not incompetent to that extent. But yeah, I would like to see it get sorted out because we did move into a stadium in 2019. It's nearly 2022. It's within a couple of months. It'll be 3 years, and we still haven't got it sorted, and that's a bit too long, in my opinion. What do you think? What do you think, Chris?
With that question about the money, about transfers. Now we could have Takehiro Tomiyasu if we just paid a couple of £1 million more.
Yeah.
Now we all know if there was a whole pot of money for Tottenham Hotspur to spend, it doesn't mean that we're going to go and spend it on players because it's got to be the right deals at the right price, isn't it?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It always seems to be the case. If it's not the right money, then we don't do the deal.
Also, what worries me is like Melvin said a very valid point about having all these events at the new stadium, the NFL, the rugby, the concerts. The thing that worries me is that that's going to create millions of pounds of income. But is that income then going to be injected into our football club? Is it going to be used to actually advance our movements in the transfer market and help the football club? We don't know. Is it really going to, or is it going to go into the back pockets of owners and not be used for our football club? It's a strange one. It really is. And I just want this football club to be successful. I'd love to see us win a trophy. I'd love to see us be in the top 4 again. I miss it so much. And what hurts me is we all laughed at Arsenal when they dropped out the top 4, and we're like, oh no, that's never going to happen to us. We're playing while we were getting to the Champions League final, and now it has happened to us. And we've got to do everything within our power to get back in the top 4 or even the Europa League. Because now look, I don't want to compare us to Arsenal too much, but they're not even in Europe. And we could be in that situation very soon. If you look at I've said it before on this channel, if you look at the table and the years in our table position, we are dropping like a fly every single season. We've gone from the Champions League to Europa League to Europa League Conference. What is next? It's not getting any Europe, and that would be catastrophic for our football club. So we have got to take this next 10 days or 11 days, and we've got to invest. And I hope Paratici's got something up his sleeve. He's a clever bloke. He's always on the phone, as you said. So my hope is it lies with him. Hopefully we can get a Vlahovic from Fiorentina, or I don't know. If Kane does go and nick Lewandowski off Bayern Munich. They want 100 mil. Just give it. Come to our football club. I don't know. We need to do something to salvage this season and to try and get back into the top 4.
I didn't really want to mention Harry Kane in this video, but as you brought him up, Josh, I'm going to give you all a minute just to give me your thoughts on Harry Kane. Don't get it any longer than that, because I feel like this Harry Kane situation, we're just talking about it day in, day out, and it's becoming very, very tiring. Josh, for you, is Harry Kane going to be a Tottenham player on the 1st of September?
I think he's messed up. Obviously, you've given him 1 minute, but I think the gentleman's agreement that was agreed with Daniel Levy, I think that's not really legally binding. I think his agent, who's been kind of bantered on Twitter for the past couple of weeks, I think he's got it all wrong. So I don't think he's going to get his move. I think obviously Daniel Levy's got a lot of stick from Spurs fans, but I think the tide's changing a little bit because he's actually going to keep Kane at the club. I can't see him leaving now with only 10 days left in a transfer window. I really can't. That would be catastrophic because I don't think we have got time to get a replacement. All these players that we need in, as Craig said, when you lose Harry Kane, he's not just a striker. He is a He's a playmaker. We need a Cam to come in. We need a backup striker and another striker to replace Kane. That's not going to happen in a week. So yeah, I hope he stays, and he's going to have to earn back my trust. I think obviously he's done a lot for the football club, and I love Harry Kane, but he has acted not in a very professional manner for an England captain and for a club legend. So yeah, he's going to have to earn it back, in my opinion.
Craig, what are your thoughts on Harry Kane? Will he be a Spurs player on the 1st of September?
If you'd asked me a week ago, I was edging towards no. I just thought he was going to be going. But as time's ticked on now, I agree with what Josh said. It just doesn't make sense with everything that hasn't been going on that we're going to sell him. I just can't see it. And he's messed up big time. Yeah. And whether that be his advisors or whatever, this lies solely with Harry Kane, because he's in charge of his own destiny. You know, he chooses the people that he employs to help him, and they have messed up massively and have totally not read the room, so to speak. You know, there's right ways and wrong ways to go about things, and he's gone about it completely wrong. Go back to that Gary Neville interview that we said about the timing of that derailed everything for us. If we'd won that Villa match and then the Leeds game, we would have been in the top 4. That's fact. And you could say ifs and buts and all this, and if you aren't at balls and all that, but that's fact. You know, we would have been in the top 4, and that derailed us massively, upset the squad. And the things that have happened over the summer, the way he's conducted himself, I can't believe it's Harry Kane, if I'm honest. I don't know the bloke, but you get a general feel for how somebody is. And it's almost like somebody's poisoned his mind. I don't understand it. This isn't the Harry Kane that I've known or seen on my telly and seen at the ground for the last 8-9 years. You know, I just don't get it. It's kind of not him. And what annoyed me more than anything about Kane, when he did break his silence, he puts a picture of himself training, and he says another session in the bank. Not one mention of great win, lads. Yeah. Even if you're going, what hurt? What hurt would that do if you put that? You're still employed by this football club at the moment. Even if he knows he's going to Man City, what hurt would that cause? You know, to say great win, lads. You know, I just don't get it, because guarantee if that had been Jack Grealish, he'd have put in, you know, well played, the villains. You know, something like that. I just don't get it. Very, very disappointing, Kane, and very much like Josh. It's going to take a lot to win me back. You know, to say I love the bloke. I do love the bloke. I think he's fantastic. He'll always be a Tottenham legend, but he's tarnishing that by the day, and that is very, very sad, because he's held in such high regard, and the amount of people on Twitter and friends and the saying that he's gone down in their estimation. I wonder if he does realise exactly what he's done. You know, and how he's going to get through this if he is staying at Tottenham, because it's going to take a lot to win these Tottenham fans back. You know, if he's staying for another season, which it looks like he is, you know, the communication from does the club really need to come out and say anything? They probably don't, because he's got a contract. He works at Tottenham. Why would they have to come out and say anything? It's up to Kane. It's up to Kane. And I like you, Chris, and everybody else, Melvin and Josh, I'm sick of thinking about it. You wake up almost thinking about it, Harry. What news am I going to see now? What other crap report am I going to see? I just want it done with. I want a statement coming out from the club or Kane within the next week to say either he's going or he's staying. But in answer to your question, Chris, in a roundabout sort of way, I think he will be staying. I think he will be staying, probably begrudgingly. And if he does have to stay, I just want to see him get his head down, put out some tweets explaining what happened. At least everybody will know then. Get him to say, look, I wanted a new challenge. It didn't work out, but I'm here for the season, and I'm going to put my heart and soul into getting this club back into the top 4. I think that would win a lot of people back. But something needs to happen. And that's kind of my opinion on Kane.
Melvin, let's come to you on the same subject. Surely, if Manchester City phone up Daniel Levy and say, okay, then £150 million, there it is. Is Harry Kane going to City? 150 million pounds if that's offered?
I think at this point, I think Daniel Levy should have done what Borussia Dortmund did with Jadon Sancho last season, when they set a date and they said if it doesn't get agreed up till this date, you can forget it. And it's public and everyone knows it, the player knows it, the agent knows it. It's what the club should have done. But the club's position, I think, from the beginning was that they weren't going to sell the player. Even though I think the way we're acting in the market, we had a bid for Lautaro Martinez, 70, 90 million, whatever, with add-ons, accepted. So were we going to spend the Kane money? I think the club were maybe preparing for the sale of Kane, or they were thinking about the idea of selling him if they could use the money. Where can they use the money? I don't know. I don't see it happening. It would be, gutting if it does happen. And Kane, spent 10 years building the relationship with the fans. I think, he could have retired if he wanted this season and been a club legend. But now, if you think about it, when Kane is going to be 60 years old, 70 years old, he's going to be going to Tottenham events, and fans, they're going to ask him, why did you leave that summer? Or why did you want to leave that summer? Or what did Daniel Levy tell you that made you so upset? Why did you want to leave us? It's not, oh, you scored so many goals against Arsenal. It's going to be these negative questions that he'll get in the future, and he'll regret, I think, the way he acted and the way he treated the fans, because he became a villain in a way, because now, it's like he tried to do the right thing for him and he didn't even consider the fans. I think football, it's for the fans. Yes, as an individual, you want to win, but you want to win for your fans. If you see players like, Totti, he used to say, I'd rather win 1 cup at Roma than win 10 league titles at Juventus.
Yeah.
It's got to be that sort of mentality for Kane. He shows so much respect and loyalty over the years, but I think he became blinded by all the comments he used to get. Oh, he's not won anything, and there's so much pressure on him to win. And it's like people won't respect him until he wins something. And I think maybe Jose said something to him in his ear before he left. Maybe he told him, oh, you have to leave Spurs if you want to win something. And I can see the spitefulness of Jose. He probably said something to him. And we'll only know in the future, when these stories come out. Because you can probably see Jose, before he leaves, try to make as much damage as much as he can. And will he stay? I think it's too late for him to leave now. City didn't put up the money. And I think he'll be a Tottenham player. And if he doesn't leave this season, I think he'll stay till the rest of his career, because next season, he still has 2 years left on his contract. There'll be other strikers available. And,
Can I ask you guys a question very quickly, just to jump in? When I say the name Alan Shearer to you, what do you think? What's the first thing you think of?
Just goals for Newcastle.
Yeah, Newcastle.
Right. Goals, Newcastle. The guy won the Premier League with Blackburn. Right. Blackburn. He went home to Newcastle, in his words, home to Newcastle for 15 million, I think it was. I think it was 96 after the Euros, wasn't it? Now, you ask anybody, Alan Shearer, you say to him, what's the first thing you think of? Premier League goal scoring record's probably going to be one of the first things. 260 goals. Newcastle number 9. If you could describe Alan Shearer, like in a Google search and say what are the top things that comes out, it would be those things. It wouldn't be Alan Shearer, Premiership winner. And that, I think, what has been lost on Harry Kane. Alan Shearer does not regret for 1 second, from all the interviews I've seen of him, going to Newcastle when he could have gone to Manchester United and won it all. He does not regret it one little bit. All he wanted to do was go home, score for Newcastle, be Newcastle's all-time top goal scorer, take over from Jackie Milburn, take his record, take the Premiership top scoring record, score in the Gallagher end against Sunderland, which he did. And that he's a very happy guy. And I'm 100% sure there is no regrets from Alan Shearer. Yes, you could say he won a Premiership, but playing for your hometown club, the club where you stood on the terraces as a lad, scoring against your rivals, that is worth a lot. To me, that's worth a lot. And for me, if Kane goes City, everything's going to be, but I didn't win it with Tottenham. I didn't do it the hard way. I took the easy way out. And that might sound daft to people watching this stream, that he's going to put trophies for himself and himself above everything else in this football club, which apparently he loves. But for me, sticks in the back of my throat a bit, because I would want to do it where the place I call home and the place where it means the most, like Shearer did. Admittedly, didn't win any trophies, but there's no regrets there. Now, Kane might have regrets about winning. He might have this burning desire to win so badly, and he's had people in his ear, Sky Sports are the worst for this, saying you've got to move to win something, you've got to move to win something. And he's just got it in his head, well, I've given Tottenham loads of chances and they haven't won anything. But let's not forget, mate, you've been in enough cup finals and you ain't turned up yourself. So you've had the chance. And my advice to him, just before we move on, would be to stay, apologise to the fans, and show us why you're our leader, show us why you're our talisman, and actually get us over the line to win something. And at worst, get us back into the Champions League.
Craig, do you think Kane...
I was going to say, Melvin, it was an amazing stat that Sky Sports put up the other day. 4 cup finals, 0 goals, 0 assists, and only 4 shots on target in those 4 matches. Very surprising stats there.
Wow.
Melvin, go on, what were you going to say?
Do you think Kane, when you look back at Danny Rose and Kyle Walker, you know, they were both players at the club. They're both playing international football. You know, one got his move to City and one didn't and stayed at the club. You know, do you think Kane sees that and he sees Kyle Walker, you know, posting photos with his Premier League medals, and you know, Danny Rose ended up, you know, he was vilified by Jose and he had to move on. And, you know, I felt so bad for Danny Rose because he's been such a good servant of the club, and I respect players like Danny Rose so much more than I respect players like Kyle Walker, what they've done for the club. But do you think he sees that and says, look, if Kyle Walker spoke, you know, yeah, he was, you know, we didn't like that he moved on, but he did. But he went to City and he got his medals. Do you think he sees an element of that? Because
it's not only that one player, though, Melvin. It seems that whatever Tottenham player leaves the club, within a year or 2 of leaving, they go and win a trophy.
Eriksen.
You know, George Kevin Nkudu was sitting there with trophies. Last year, Christian Eriksen went and won the league with Inter Milan. It's like you could name a whole host of players that have left the club in the last 5 years, and they've gone on then to win trophies, but didn't win any with Tottenham. This is why I go on about trophies so much, because when you see some of these players that leave Spurs go on to win trophies, Harry Kane must be very frustrated. I completely get that. He must be very frustrated not winning any trophies. I knew that you couldn't all do 1 minute, you know, talking about Harry Kane. I knew it would go on for a lot more. Because this is what it does. This is exactly why it's, you know, the Harry Kane story is all over all the newspapers, all over the media. It's just, you know, going around in circles. So let's move on from the Harry Kane situation. Daniel Phillips writes here, remember 2-3 years ago when we were 2nd or 3rd and in the Champions League? Yes, I do remember those days. He also says, Daniel, thank you so much for your super chats. Defence has improved, which cost us many points. Josh, let's come to you. Has our defence improved? Because we've offloaded Toby Alderweireld, we've brought in Christian Romero. If you said that is a direct replacement, surely we do need more defensive reinforcements still.
Yeah. This is what I was going to say earlier. Although Sanchez and Dyer played pretty amazingly against Man City, I thought they were absolutely brilliant. What worries me, what petrifies me, is we all know what they're capable of, and we all know they can go off the boil at any point of time. And what happens if that happens? What happens if Sanchez goes through a really tough bit of form or a poor bit of form? What happens if Dyer starts making lots of mistakes again? Yes, we bought Romero, he can come in, but we haven't got Alderweireld to come in and calm down the defence. How do we? Romero,
you're so positive tonight, Josh.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. I think we do need more defensive reinforcements, experienced defensive reinforcements. Our most experienced defender at the club at the moment is Eric Dyer, and he's not even a centre back. I mean, I think we need more experience at the back. Romero isn't enough, especially with the loss of Alderweireld. But yeah, I think there was definitely an improvement in the Man City game, a huge improvement. Them two at the back get a huge amount of stick from every single fan.
Yeah.
And they were brilliant. They were so solid, probably the most solid I've ever seen them in a Spurs shirt. And long may that continue. I really hope that continues, honestly. But there is the looming over them. We do know what can happen. And it may happen again this season, but fingers crossed it won't. And we'll get a result against Wolves and we'll keep a clean sheet against Wolves. Because I do believe that this new first team, with the integration of some of the academy boys, we could be successful. Skip was fantastic at Norwich. He was great against Man City. Getting him in the side alongside Højbjerg, we could have a solid midfield there. Tanganga coming in at right back and solidifying that position as his own. That's exactly what we need. We've been dying for that. Someone like Aurier couldn't kind of solidify his position. There was always that penalty error or a mistake in him. Tanganga looks solid. He pocketed Grealish, £100 million Grealish and Sterling. Two great international footballers. And he's a young lad, Tanganga. He's one of our own, as we all sang in the stadium. And I absolutely love to see it. But I think we do need just a few, or one or two experienced centre-backs to come in. Maybe now or in January, and I think that could actually help us out, because that was one of the main woes of last season, our defensive mistakes. How many defensive errors did we make last year? If we can crack that nut without other kind of areas of problems arising in other areas of the pitch, I think we can move forward and we can rise up the table.
Absolutely, yeah. I just want to go back to tonight's game. Obviously, I went to the stadium tonight, and I've got to say that the stewards, the police were absolutely superb, very friendly. The fans were very friendly as well. We've had a number of Paços fans on tonight putting comments in the stream, and there's banter and there's banter, and they've been very friendly with it and wished us luck for the rest of the Premier League season. But of course, we've got to play them on Thursday. Tiago, who actually sorted out my ticket, I'd like to say a big thank you to him. And yeah, the club, very friendly club, lovely club, very nice place to go. So if ever you're in this part of Portugal, then do visit their club, because they were brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Craig, you mentioned Tanguy Ndombele earlier, so I'd like to give you the opportunity of talking about him, because of course our record signing, it'd be nice to see him play every now and then, wouldn't it?
It would. Isn't it a crazy one? Again, it's so Tottenham, and it's so Tottenham to you have your record signing, and he kind of goes, "Hey, well, it's mental." I've said on here before what I think of Tanguy Ndombele. He's probably the most skillful player, in my opinion, at the football club, and he can do unbelievable things with football. We just haven't seen it regularly enough, have we? And I'm at a loss, because it's 4 managers now he's played for, and they've all seen the same thing, and they should obviously see things that we don't in training. And for whatever reason, he's obviously just not doing it on the training field. And the players that they've played in his stead, if you like, have earned their place more than he has. And I just want him to knuckle down and prove, why he's worth 60-odd million, and repay that fee in essence, because he does the warm up sometimes and he looks knackered. I don't understand it. We've all seen it. He jogs out. He looks like he's just been in a war, and I don't get it. I don't get it. He's got the opportunity to become an absolute legend at Tottenham, and I was so excited when he joined, because he seemed to be the most likely Dembele replacement. There's something about him. You can see the way he passes the ball, the way he moves the ball quickly, his quick feet, the way he can just glide away from players. It's so frustrating that we haven't seen the best of him yet. And I'm still not hopeful even Nuno can get the best out of him, because perhaps he's just not suited to the Premier League. Perhaps, some players aren't they? And there's part of me that thinks if a massive money offer comes in for him before the end of the window, then we let him go, which is really sad. I'd hate to see him go, but sometimes you just got to cut your losses. But yeah, disappointing is, if there's one word I can use to describe Ndombele.
Absolutely. Colin writes on the screen now, are you still in Portugal? Yes, I am, Colin. I only actually got back to my hotel about an hour and a half ago. I was waiting for a taxi outside the stadium for a long time. It was very difficult to get a taxi. Some very nice Portuguese people actually booked me the taxi. And it was funny, Alistair Gold then come out. The taxi turned up and I said, my taxi's here. I was talking to him about the game. Went in the taxi and he said, no, that's my taxi. And I said, no, it's not, it's mine. We were joking around. And then I had to get out of the taxi because we then found out that it was his taxi. And then my one turned up. What a fiasco. So I'm still here, but I'm back tomorrow. And obviously travelling to the Wolves game, hopefully on Sunday. Let's go on to Jerome's comment. Melvin, let's come to you. I think Tanganga, Reguilon, Skip and Højbjerg made Eric Dyer and Sanchez look good because they are very good cover. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I saw a video online. If you look on YouTube, you'll find there's a tactical analysis of how we played against City, and it was so clever the way we played, and it was tactically I was impressed by Nuno. Pep tried to switch things up halfway through the game, and we blocked Sterling in the half spaces. And if you look at this video, it was very clever. That's why Sanchez and Dyer looked good, because the position City tried to attack us, that's where we tried to defend those areas, and particularly on the side of Jaffet and Højbjerg, who covered the side really, really well, and Skip and Dele Alli and Reguilon on the other side. So I was very impressed, and that's why we covered the defense very, very well this season, which is something that I think we struggled with last season. We didn't offer enough protection, and it just seems that teams were walking through us and running through us, and it was so easy. I just felt for all of last season that Højbjerg was left exposed, and Lo Celso and Ndombele weren't always there, and it just seems that this season, maybe, I don't know if it's a combination of the fitness, the personnel that are playing, the system that we play. It just feels that the back four will be much more, protected. And if Romero can get up to speed, and I don't feel that he should start on Sunday. I think we should play the exact same way we played against City. I don't know if you're going to come up to that later on in the video, but I don't think we should change the formation. I think you don't change a winning team, and I think all players should start exactly the same way, and you don't throw Romero in straight away. He's still adapting to the Premier League. He's still coming back from injury, and if we can defend well, we'll score. I think we'll have players who can score, and if Kane is on the bench, if he starts, I think we have players in our squad who can score. If we can keep a clean sheet, we'll definitely find the goal. If we can play the way we played against City, with the intensity and the tackles, and we looked like Wolves looked against us a couple of seasons ago. In the documentary, they were tackling us, and they never gave us any chance. We looked like Wolves did a couple of seasons ago at their best. Flying into tackles, so much energy. It looked like Manchester City weren't fit. Some of their players were tired. I think we looked much sharper than they did, and so it's credit to Nuno and his training sessions and his tactics. It'll be interesting how he's going to play against Wolves. Is he going to play a back five? Is he going to play the exact same way? Because it's going to be on us now, and it's going to be, we have to create, and we have to, attack more. And I don't think Wolves are going to press us in our box as much as Manchester City did. So it's going to be, if Dele Alli can create something, if Lo Celso is going to be substituted, it seems to be at like the 60th minute, like last season. It's these type of players that need to create something. If Bergwijn is going to score we need Bergwijn to score 9 or 10 goals this season.
Yeah.
He needs to pick up where Bale left off. We need him to score the chances that he's going to get. He's going to get one or two chances per game, and he needs to score them this season. So it's going to be interesting season. It's going to be very interesting, and it's going to be interesting to see how Nuno adapts from one game to another. If we play the same system, or if he's going to change things up. I think under Pochettino, we had one system, and when it went wrong, we didn't have a plan B. Mm-hmm. And it seems that under Jose, there was too many plans, and from one week to another, there were too many personnel shifting, and the defense was always changing. If we can keep the same lineup, I think it will do us benefit, heading into those Chelsea and Arsenal fixtures, because if we can keep the same 12, 11 players and get some rhythm going, and we can really challenge for top 4.
Josh, let's come to you. Question here from Bobby. Hope you're well, Bobby. It's been a long time since we've spoke. Bob Spur TV, do check that channel out. Christian Romero looked like a rusty player returning from injury. It's time for Prachi to earn his premature Don status by bringing in quality bodies. Now, I know we've spoken about this already during this video, but are you expecting more signings, Josh? And if so, how many more?
I can see us bringing in maybe 1 or 2 more. Maybe this Japanese guy. I think I can see him coming. I'm not sure what you said earlier about if a deal had fallen through, or if we're not offering the 5 million that Bologna want. But I think I can see him coming. I think he's quite a versatile player along the back line. He can play centre back and he can play right back. Yeah. And obviously, if the Kane deal goes, we're going to need a striker. And I think we need a backup striker anyway, as I said earlier. So I can see an attacking player coming in. But yeah, Paratici, I think he does need to earn his Don status, as the Spurs fans have crowned him, you could say. But yeah, I think he's done a good job. It's been a different type of transfer window. I felt personally as a Spurs fans, we brought in some different type of players. We've gone and fished in Serie A, which we don't usually do. Like we said earlier, we brought in Galini, which is a very competent goalkeeper. I think that's a good signing. Romero's a very good centre back. He did very well for Argentina in the Copa America. Won Serie A defender of the season last year. He's obviously a very, very good, talented lad at the back, and I think he'll be a good signing. Hopefully, he can cement himself at the back and really help out the lads. Hill, I think that's been a good signing, good prospect, very talented boy. So if you look at all these signings that we've made, it's positive. It is positive, and usually I don't like to be negative. I really don't. So I think Paratici has done a decent job, and a far better job than previous Spurs transfer windows, where we signed 0 players. Like you said earlier, we didn't sign someone for 500 days, and now we are bringing in some players worth 40 odd million in Romero, and obviously we paid 25 million and Lamella for Hill. That's quite a lot of money. Probably what.
I think it was you who mentioned Danny Ings earlier, Josh. £25 million. I just think that is an absolute snip for guaranteed goals. I know he's had his injury problems, but for £25 million, I think that we've really missed out.
Yeah, we always miss out though. We always miss out. We missed out on Bruno Fernandes. We missed out on Grealish. We could go through the list, and we missed out on Dybala. We missed out on so many players because we penny pinch too much. I can't, but a Grealish went for 100 million, and we offered 25 million on Onuma, which is well, I can't get over it.
Let's get on to our last question, because I know we've all got to go to bed. It's 1:45 here. Melvin, you're in Malta. Is it 1:45 there?
Yeah.
What are you doing up talking about Tottenham?
I don't work tomorrow. I'm off.
Good man.
Right. Craig, let's start with you. back in the Premier League on Sunday at Molineux against Wolves, Nuno Espirito Santo's old club. Are you expecting Tottenham Hotspur to get the 3 points?
I have to say I am, actually. Nobody's going to know Wolves better than Nuno, let's face it. So, you know, there's no excuses there about not knowing your opponent. I think he's going to have the upper hand. They're going to try and second guess what he's going to do. And, you know, they're his players mainly that they've still got in the books there. So, yeah, I'm expecting a win. I know we haven't done particularly well there over the last couple of seasons. Although I do remember a Jan Vertonghen last-minute winner from an Ericsson corner. I think that was 2 seasons ago, wasn't it? It's always a tough game. Wolves are a good side. But I'm still expecting us to win. Still expecting us to maintain the... we're on a bit of a roll now in the Premier League, obviously after that great result on Sunday. So early days, obviously, but let's keep that going. Forget about tonight. It's going to be a totally different team. I would expect more or less the same lineup. Why change a winning team, as Melvin said? So, yeah.
But if Harry Kane's available, do you put Harry Kane in that team, even though they beat Manchester City?
No, absolutely not. He hasn't deserved the right to play for this club again until he comes out and says, I want to play for Tottenham, in my opinion. I don't care who you are. He's disrespected the fans. Yeah. And to think you've automatically got a place back in this team, no matter who you are, don't care who you are. As Graham Roberts has got in his Twitter profile picture, you know, the name of the club on the front is bigger than the name on the back or something like that. And that totally resonates and totally rings true. He's got the crest. That's it. Thanks, Melvin. He's got to earn his way back into this team. You know, in my opinion, I don't care who you are.
What about Christian Romero, Craig? Would you put him in the starting 11?
No, I probably wouldn't. I'd probably still give. I can't believe I'm saying this, by the way. I'd give Dyer and Sanchez another go because they've earned the right to do it. They had a great game. And I think it sends the wrong message in a lot of respects. You know, them two. Credit where credit's due. They played their hearts out. They played very well. And then to get dropped from Romero, who didn't have a particularly good game tonight, albeit early days, like I say, it sends the wrong message. And I don't think that's the right way to do it. So stick with that team. It's a very familiar team to all of us. I think we'll say that. It's a very familiar team. But the players on that pitch against City have earned the right to do it again against Wolves. I don't care if Harry Kane is the fittest he's ever been. He shouldn't start that game Sunday. And by the way, I never thought I'd say that. But that's the way life is at the moment. But yeah, Spurs win. I'm going to go 2-1.
I never thought you'd say that.
What, Spurs win?
No, Eric Dyer over Christian Romero.
No, nor did I. I think it must be late. I think I must be a bit tired, drunk, or whatever it is to say. Yeah.
You're going for a 2-1 win then, Craig? Yeah?
I'm going to go 2-1 Tottenham win. Yeah. I'm going to go Lucas Moura and Heung-min Son.
Josh, what are you going with?
I reckon I totally agree with what Craig said. I reckon we're going to win 2-0. I think we're going to keep another clean sheet with Dyer and Sanchez at the back. Hopefully. Wow. I think Skip's going to play really well again. I think Tanganga's going to have a great game again. We always, I think Craig said we don't have a great record. I've been up there a couple of times in recent years. I thought we've always played really well, but it's been a tight game. Wolves is a hard place to go to, but we always seem to get some kind of result, apart from last year, which was, I think it was 1-1, where we just sat back. We got an early goal in Ndombele and then sat back and bottled it pretty much. But in the previous years, it's always been a really tight. It's always been 3. I think it was 3-2. Foyth gave away 2 penalties a couple of years ago when he used to play for us. And there was another one, as you said, for Vertonghen in the last minute. Great header. So yeah, I think we're going to win 2-0. I think we've just got to be positive. It should be a weird return for Nuno going back to his club. I think the Wolves fans will be very accepting, obviously, of Nuno. He didn't leave them in spite. They had a great relationship, and he got them promoted. And I'm sure it'll be a nice atmosphere. It'll be a good game. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going up there myself, so I just want to have a good sing song, watch the boys play, try and get a win, have a couple of beers. So yeah, let's get a win. Let's get a 2-0 win. I'd love to see Son and Lucas score, as you said. I think they were very good in the City game. So let's see them performing again. So yeah, come on, you Spurs.
I might surprise you two. I'm actually going to go for a 1-1 draw.
Oh.
What about you, Melvin?
I don't know. I quite agree with you, but I'm going to say, I'll be positive. I'll say we'll nick it 1-0. The same thing I said against Man City. And I think we might set up the exact same way. Try to be defensive and hit them on the break. You know, not give any space to Adama Traore and, you know, be quite tight, you know, to their striker and try to hit them on the same way, on the break, you know, with pace. Try to get Son in scoring positions, maybe Bergwijn. You know, if we can get a 1-0, it's all we need.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to thank all three of you for coming on tonight. I tell you, you three have always come on in such difficult circumstances when we've had some really poor results. So I really appreciate your time. Craig, thank you very much indeed.
No problem, Chris. Always a pleasure.
And Josh, hopefully I'll see you Sunday.
Yeah, see you Sunday, Chris. It'll be good. We have to get a video.
Yes. And Melvin, thank you very much as always.
Hope we win.
Thanks for watching, everyone, and thanks for all your comments. And let's hope that Tottenham get back to winning ways. Of course, it will be a different starting 11 on Sunday at Molineux as Nuno Espirito Santo returns to his former club. Let's hope that Tottenham get 3 points. Thanks for watching, and come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.